One of the great joys of fencing is the chance to fence at a high level, by which I mean you're on the strip and you're able to communicate with the other fencer through your actions. You're able to have a whole conversation on the strip about distance, about timing, about preparation and taking the advantage, that kind of thing. And that is the joy of fencing. That's why I sat on airplanes for 20 hours to go fence for a day or a day and a half. And it's why I train hard to find those moments which are exhilarating and full of joy.
Fencing is much like any other combative sport. Take boxing. In boxing, people hop back and forth to judge distance, but the difference in boxing is that you have to deliver a punch with power. In fencing, you have to use your power to collapse the distance, but you don't particularly have to hit the person hard in any way.
Fencing bouts are about a struggle for distance and a struggle for timing. Are you able to go in the right time and the right distance when your opponent is unprepared? And so for me, it's about that. If I can control that moment of distance, if I can control that moment of the action, then everything else should turn out okay. But behind that is all the preparation. It's all the footwork, all of the ability to control yourself. So everything that you're doing, you're not really thinking about it. You can just let it happen. And anyway, it takes a long time to get there in fencing. Then you can focus on these very small things, the right action when you have the distance, catching your opponent in a mistake, and that's fencing.
I like the fact that fencing is an individual sport. I mean, I also like playing soccer or whatever. I also enjoy it. I mean, but particularly about fencing, I like the fact that it is an individual sport. I like the fact that I can always discover something new that I've never discovered. I mean, I've been fencing for 20 years, and there's always something new that I can, discover. I like figuring my opponents out. I like to know exactly how they fence. So, yeah, I mean, I think these things are true for just about any sport.
I would describe fencing as more of a physical chess game. I've heard that before. So there's a lot of strategy involved, and you can trick your opponent, you can make him think you're doing something, and get him on that, but that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, like you said, it's a physical chess game. You lay traps, and then you catch the opponent off guard.
There's a lot of physical aspects. We do a lot of training to get our bodies ready for a competition, but it's also very psychological, and unless you're very good at handling your emotions, there's very little you can do to not end up just
falling apart in the tournament.
It's hard.
It's very quick. It's you have to think on your feet very fast, and it's a battle of the wills. You're one-on-one with the other person, like most one-on-one sports, but really here you're
the actions are just very fast. It happens in a split second. There's a lot of moving. You have 3 minutes in a bout, but individual actions, when things actually happen, is just very fast. It's not like in tennis where you have a rally that can go on for hours even. There have been rallies that have gone on for hours, but in fencing you move, and the action just happens so fast.
And it's really a combination of thinking and physical power.
For me, when I'm fencing and about, when I usually come into a competition, I try to analyze who I'm fencing against. Like if I ever see my future opponents fencing in a bout, I always try to study that bout and see how they fence. Like, oh, what type of grip do they use? Oh, are they passive fencers? Or are they very aggressive? And I'm just trying to I try to find all these facts and then just organize it in my head. And so then when the time comes and I'm actually fencing against them, of course I'll learn more new information while I'm fencing them, but I'll incorporate that information with the information I already know. And then I'll try to think of strategies of what to use against them. And because of course you can't use the same tactics over and over. You have to think of new ideas. It is really like chess, like Kevin says, because if this happens, because like your opponent can always do something unpredictable, and of course sometimes you can't counteract, unpredictability, but you can also adapt, and so that's really the main point. You have to be very adaptable in fencing.
I've always believed that fencing is like playing chess with swords, and the reason why is because, well, the one thing about fencing, pretty much the main principle of fencing, in my opinion, is trying to trick the other person to get the touch. That's pretty much as basic as I can go, and that would be the true essence of fencing, really. I mean, to touch the other person, you have to, trick them to thinking that perhaps they're going to get the touch, but then in turn you're going to get the touch in the end. So it's really kind of like battle of the minds in a sense, but the physical part is with the sword.
In the moment of the bout, it's not about winning, it's not about losing, it's about managing yourself, being able to control your own fencing and to read your opponent, to fight with your opponent for distance, so that you can score. You sort of break it down into scoring touches or to controlling distance and then moving from there. So there's a question, is fencing different from other one-on-one competitive sports? I don't think it is. I have a friend who was doing judo, and he came over to watch a fencing bout, and he immediately understood fencing. He immediately was able to see what's going on, even though typically the actions happen very quickly and they can be difficult to see. Fencing is a great slow motion replay sport because everything then is laid bare. But I think that most of these sports are about first being able to control yourself and what you do, to get the muscle memory, to learn the actions so you can do them without thinking, and then secondarily to be able to engage with an opponent. And I think a lot of the martial arts, a lot of these one-on-one sports, it's the same idea. I don't see a big difference.
I think just in any other martial art where you are just one-on-one and you must perform, you go with a certain expectation into the bout, and to begin with, if your opponent perceives you to be better than they are, they've already lost 35%. So it's good to have them think that. Other than that, there are certain techniques in fencing to playing with distance or pressuring them in one way or another, seeing how they perform under certain things, what they do when you invoke a certain attack. You try different things, see how they react, see if they are feeling pressured. It's just a matter of a bit of trying during the bout to be able to figure out what the holes are.
I think that a good fencer is also a little stupid, by which I mean they say to themselves, oh, it's 7:30 at night. I guess I'm supposed to go to practice now. I don't need to have dinner with my friends. I don't need to go read a book at home. I don't need to go out drinking or whatever. This is what I'm supposed to do, and they don't think about it too much. When I was in college, I lived in Boston, and the bridge across the Charles River is about 1/3 of a mile long. That bridge is a complete wind tunnel. And at 6 in the morning during the winter, when you're hauling yourself over the snow and the ice and through the slush, the wind is going. Like, if all you know is, oh, I guess I have to go to the practice, or I guess I have to go to the tournament, you're good to go. If you think about it a little too much, you're never going to become a good fencer.
I use fencing in my life to be able to keep myself on course. Others might use it for other purposes. Some people will want to become Olympic level fencers. I've never had this dream, but others might just want to do it as a hobby. Everybody has their own objectives when it comes to any sport, really, not only fencing. Mine has always been to be good at it, but not particularly the best or to have my life, but still be good at one sport, and that's fencing. Learning fencing is one thing, and learning how to compete is another thing. And it takes many competitions to get better at it, because in a competition, in a training session, you have nothing to lose. You can win, you can lose, so you're much more relaxed. But in a competition, you're much more tense, and if you're tense, you get tired much quicker. So you have to be relaxed yet alert at the same time. You have to be mentally strong. You have to be able to sleep before competition. And all of these things are things that you figure out over the years, by competing over and over and over. Competitions are an art. Some people never, although they are good fencers, they're never good at competitions. Others are born to compete.
There are a couple set of rules. First of all, everyone has a plain white outfit.
Everybody's the same. Everybody's equal.
Right. Everyone has to have the same weapon for your own sport, because there's 3 weapons you can have. In the competition, there's a standard for your blade, so it has to meet those standards so that everyone is equal and it's a level playing field.
There's a lot of respect. You have to salute your opponent every time you start the bout.
That's important. Yeah. People do it so often that it's kind of mechanical and they forget, but you really salute your opponent at the beginning and end of a battle.
I've had the chance to travel broadly for fencing, for World Cups, for national comps, and one of the trips I did was to the Bern World Cup, except I found myself 2 days before the Bern World Cup on a plane in Shreveport, Louisiana. And that was because I was supposed to connect in Dallas, but there were thunderstorms, so we were not getting to Dallas. Luckily, Switzerland is one of those countries where you can arrive in a different city the day of the competition and still make it to Bern. So I arrived in Zurich about 7:30. I was in Bern by 10 o'clock, and I think I was on the strip by 11 o'clock and ready to fence. At that point, I'd been traveling for about 2.5 days, and as you can imagine, I was a little tired fencing in the pool. The pool went pretty well. But I still remember the last touch. I was fencing against a Czech guy, and this is anyway, and it's 4-4, it's tied. Time is getting close to expiring. Finally, he makes flesh. And at that moment, I was exhausted. It was the end of the pool. I hadn't gotten any sleep in like 2 days. I look, my light is on. The only thing I could think of is that like the wind from his flesh had somehow depressed my point and it caused a touch to score. I think actually I probably hit him in the hand as he came in, but it was, anyway, it was a good moment and the lesson for me there was that sometimes just being relaxed from being so tired and kind of being ready, having things in the right position, you can get a little something you wouldn't get otherwise. Maybe if I was trying to score that touch, I never would have scored it.
When you go nationally into competitions, and now I just started going internationally, it's so amazing to go and meet new people. And I've met so many people, and that's like one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And I have so many friends now, and it's always like, at first I would never make any friends. I would like see them as enemies, and I don't know why I did. But then now, like, I started making friends, and it's like having fencing with, like, even with sometimes it's terrible fencing with friends against them because there is only one winner. It's still such a rewarding experience.
So when I'm at a tournament and I'm in a pool in between bouts, if I'm looking for my next opponent in a direct elimination bout, for example, I'm looking to see what they like to do. Then I want to stop them from doing that because they're going to feel uncomfortable and uncertain. Also, I'm looking for things that they do sort of without thinking that I can take advantage of. But if I can push them away from what they want to do, number one, chances are they're going to do more stuff they don't want to do, which is better for me. And then second, I'll have more opportunity to just sort of stick into their automatic actions.
the whole thing about fencing is then about distance. You have to get in and out of distance at all times. So once a person understands the concept of distance in fencing, they are halfway there. Of course, there are certain techniques that one needs to learn. I mean, just like any other sport, you have to become technically good, which means you have to take lessons. You have to train. You have to do push-ups, sit-ups, all those things that you need to do. But one can't get very good at fencing unless they understand the essence of fencing, which I think is about distance. I think fencing is mostly about distance.
The sport, I believe that yes, as a winner and a loser, you have to accept losing because losing is part of life. That's how you you learn from your mistakes. And if I have to say, the one part about losing that I hate the most is when I lose against my sister, because I think that's the most degrading part for me. Because losing against a family member is very tough, and anyone will tell you that. But when you're in a big competition, there's a lot of things at stake, and you really want to win, and then you lose. You gotta take a step back. You gotta figure out what you did wrong. Talk to your coaches.
I've learned that when I do lose, I learn a lot more than if I won instead. If I lose, then I realize that there are mistakes that I have, there are faults or flaws that I have when I'm fencing, and I have to fix that, and that's how I get better.
You're going to have some good times and some really bad ones when you're in a competition. You can do very well or very badly. Sometimes it's up to luck.
It's all about picking yourself back up, having confidence. Confidence is very important.
What makes a great fencer? I mean, it's a combination of a couple of things. It's a killer instinct. It's an ability to train and to bring whatever natural talent you have to a higher level. And then there's a certain, like a savoir-faire, like a certain craziness. So you can bring the unexpected in the bout, but in a controlled way.
If I had to tell someone about fencing at first, I would tell them it's a very long and hard road.
There is an extreme amount of dedication you need to give yourself to the sport. A lot of people, they don't understand how, that sometimes the sport is really someone's life. It's really what defines a person.
School and fencing, I will say, does not really mix that well, because going on international or even like national and international competitions is very hard sometimes, because you get to skip school, which of course is great, but then if you're taking important classes and you miss important dates, it's not very fun when you have to make it up. But of course, fencing is a great experience. I mean, I don't regret choosing fencing, but you have to learn responsibility.
From fencing, I guess a lot of things you learn in fencing can apply to real life, like you get very good time management skills, and you have to get very organized if you have other things going on in your life. And it's also helped me a lot of self-reflection, knowing what I'm doing wrong and correcting it, that whole process.
Really, you have to look back at every experience and learn from that to win in the future. You can't just, winning all the time is great, but losing will also, remind you that yes, you're not the best fencer. Yes, you need to improve. You need to be a better fencer in the future.
So for a long time, I struggled with the question, why fence? I was still going to practice all the time. I was going to competitions, but it really helps at the competition if you want to be there. And because fencing, maybe it's a sport, it's entertainment. We have all the problems in the world. There's plenty else to do. And where I finally came to was fencing provides these moments of grace. You get to encounter all these other people, which is wonderful. People who are hopefully as crazy as you are, or as interesting, or more interesting, or whatever. But at the end of the day, when you're on this trip, you can find something that you can't find anywhere else in life. And that's as good a reason as any.